This time, we're going to ask council members to introduce themselves and their district. I'm Joe Boykin, Charleston County District 8, and I'm service chairman presently. Mr. Moody.
Brandon Moody, Charleston County Council, District 7.
Middleton, District 6.
Darby, District 4.
Sass, District 1, Mount Pleasant.
Kristen Salisbury, Clerk of Council.
Newton County Administrator.
Jenny Costa Honeycutt, District 9.
Larry Kombrowski, District 2.
Teddy Fryer, District 5.
And District 3.
Natalie Ham, County Attorney.
Thank you all. This time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Pryor, who's the chair of the Planning and Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is our Planning and Public Works Committee. All members of council participate. Item number 1, approval of minutes.
Second.
Any discussion or deletion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, ayes have it. Item number 2A is Ashley River Road, request to consider, and then following to be 2B, CLDR.
Move for Planning Commission recommendations on items 2A and 2B.
Second.
There's moved and seconded. Any discussion?
One question?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Tootin, I don't see Merle here tonight. I had asked him to check into this property, the state abandoned tax credit. Y'all may recall that property we did, that empty dry cleaner on Highway 61, qualified for some state credits. Mr. Johnson was going to look into that for me. If you could get an answer for that, that'd be wonderful.
Okay. Anything else? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. That concludes our Planning and Public Works Committee meeting.
Mr. Pryor. At this time, we will call the Transportation Sales Tax Special Committee to order. I'm chair, and all members of council are members of the TST Special Committee. Item 1, approval of minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Agenda item number 2A, future transportation sales tax draft projects. Yes, sir, Mr. Webber.
I would move that we make the following changes to the proposed allocations that we've discussed previously. Of the $75 million that were made available from the featured project category by virtue of reduction of the battery extension project, I would move $25 million to the City of North Charleston priorities. I would move $25 million to transit with a designation that be used for implementation of the downtown route study. I would move $25 million to the Haygood Avenue Improvement Plan. I would also reduce the intersection unspecified allocation by $10 million, reduce the pavement management allocation by $10 million, with that and then with a corresponding $20 million increase again to the City of North Charleston featured project slice. I would reduce the bike ped allocation by $25 million and increase Greenbelt by $40 million. There is also, even though then a reduction to the general transit by $25 million. I believe that is everything, unless I need to specify the North Charleston projects. I believe we have a staff recommendation on those, though.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Yes, sir, Mr. Moody.
First of all, Haygood Avenue, I think that's an outstanding inclusion project on that. I was a little surprised about the intersection and pavement reductions because that's sort of, wow, what we do. But if we do this, can y'all check my arithmetic? That would make 690, transit 860, iPad 165, and I'm including the 90, interest carry 284, seawall still at 225. That's.
I'm sorry. You were asking? I'm with you until you said transit.
690 green space, 860 transit, 165 bikes now.
I think that's right.
4 interest carry, and we still got 225 in there for the seawall.
Mr. Moody, if
I believe that's right. I mean,
That adds up to $2,224,000,000, which is 52% of the total pie. So that leaves 48% going to roads. That's what I get.
Mr. Moody, did you include debt service in that number?
I did.
Okay. I mean, the cost of building the road, I think, is part of the roads too, so I would put that in
There
roads.
is, and there's a case to be made too, that if you delay, there would be added costs. So it goes both ways.
What percent did you say that all added up be?
I get a total of $2,224,000,000 divided by 4,250.
I was just looking at, if you look at the orange part of the pie chart, you've got 9.18% pavement management at $390 million, 2.66%, and second TST carrier needs at $113 million, 0.59% of signal coordination at $25 million, 2.71% intersection safety program at $115 million, and then 39.95% at $1.6 billion for featured projects, which does include the Better North Bridge.
Well, I guess I would question why the Better North Bridge was put into the priority projects, because if it's bike and ped, call it what it is. If it's bike and ped, put it under bike and ped, send it to the voters, let them tell us what they think about it. And of that number, though, Mr. Boykin, I was taking the 220. I was carving the 225 out of the 39%. So if you look at the left side of, if you look at our charts, the green, the blue, the bike ped, the debt service, North Bridge, battery extension. For the average Joe in my district that comes down 61 and sits in traffic for an hour every day, if we ask him if he wants 52% of his money going to other stuff, that's what the majority wants. That's what the majority gets. I'm just pointing it out. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Ms. Honeycutt.
I just want to be clear, because we have this on the screen behind us so visually constituents can see. Everything in orange on that diagram, in my opinion, is related to roads. Now, the $90 million from the bike ped project is specific to the infrastructure program because there's a chance we rebuild that facility, the entire bridge. And if we rebuild the bridge and add bike ped to it, well, that's a totally different thing than just a standalone bike ped bridge. But that is part of the bridge grant and prioritization of these different bridges across the whole state that DOT is doing. This is being submitted for that. So I want to be able to use that $90 million if, let's say, we don't get the grant for the bike ped improvement, it still stays in roads. And so that's why I think it was important to put that in there. But when I look at that map, those slices in orange, and we've tried to be as clear to the public as we can, are all including the debt service to build roads, which if you're going to incur debt to build roads, that's part of the cost of doing the roads, is going towards the road improvements. So when you add up just the blue and green, the 20.24 and 16.24, that's the only part that's not technically roads, although I think transit is an infrastructure improvement as well. Thank you.
Mr. Weirman.
Yeah, just to address a little bit of what's been said thus far, I would echo Councilwoman Honeycutt's point on the North Bridge specifically. I think that's actually the main plan, from what I understand now, is to try and induce and work with the state to just replace the entire bridge. Yeah. Again, I would agree that the debt service piece of this, I think that's properly considered road money. And quite frankly, the fact that it's going to speed up the actual provision of these roads is something that I think we've heard loud and clear. I did also, Mr. Chairman, while I've got the mic, we read off a lot of numbers there. I want to just give a broader overview of why I think this is a good compromise. I mean, there's going to be stuff in this transportation sales tax that I'm not going to be super excited about paying for either. But ultimately, I think we're stronger when we're together, and there are things that are desperate needs of all parts of this county that can be addressed by this. And folks have different needs, and so we've got different components of it. I think one good way to summarize what the motion on the table is we freed up $75 million from the battery extension project. We would be moving that money into three different places. One is the Haygood Avenue improvement, which is obviously to improve some of the flooding and improve the situation down there on Haygood Avenue. I think that keeping that on the peninsula was an important thing for me. It would also facilitate some projects in North Charleston that I think we sort of addressed the idea that North Charleston, I think sort of got the short end of the stick when we allocated all 90 of them to them, all 90 million of the North Bridge to them initially. So it facilitates that as well. And also, this facilitates an increase to Greenbelt. We've talked a lot about that, but, it also it facilitates a marginal increase, at least, to the total transit number here. So, understanding that that's important to a lot of folks. I'm hopeful that can be seen as sort of a way for us to come together and hopefully support this plan. There's probably a million other words that could be said about the various numbers I just threw out there, but I will pass that along to others to do so. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Kabrowski.
Yeah, I just want to say, our county is 100 miles long from north to south. And as I said last week, this is a test whether a single-member districts can work. Every area, we have rural, suburban, and urban areas, and how do we make things that our job today is to try to come up with something that would meaningfully improve the lives of the people that live in Charleston County from north to south. And I recognize in the North Area Peninsula, Charleston, public transit is much more important than it is East Cooper. Our thing in North Mount Pleasant, Allendale, and McClellanville is the Greenbelt money so we can help our areas stay rural and prevent it from becoming Highway 17 South. And I asked the chairman, I recognize that probably the worst traffic we have is West Ashley, so our obligation is to put something that would meaningfully improve lives there. And I asked you, Chairman, can you tell us what project in this would meaningfully impact the lives of people West Ashley, and how would that help them? Because our obligation is to try to come up with something, and it's a complex thing because we're all different needs in different areas, so please tell us how it would impact the lives there and the projects.
I'm going to hold my comments. Mr. Moody, I think, wanted to go again.
Yeah, well, I guess I'm first to say it's inappropriate for me to speak again until everybody else had a chance to.
I'm sorry, Mr. Milton, I see your hand.
I would like to respond, but yeah,
Well,
everybody
thank
needs to
you,
speak first.
and I do appreciate that, and certainly take issue of taking the $75 million from the city and then reverting it to different places. That certainly is an issue for me, and certainly those $75 million, there could have been additional City of Charleston inner and outer off the peninsula projects to include West Ashley and other areas that, and I know we've gotten in previous transportation sales tax, but certainly we still remain gridlocked and dealing with the same nightmare of traffic that everybody around the county in certain urban centers deal with. And so I wish that and I know that there were conversations, lots of collaboration, and I appreciate all of that. And I still would advocate for that $75 million to be allocated in different ways, the same way that $45 million was carved out for North Charleston. I would carve the whole $75 million out for projects in the city of Charleston. And so certainly if it were not going to the battery extension, there are still other worthy projects, in Charleston, not necessarily just the peninsula, that still need priority. And so for that reason, certainly I appreciate, the new pie, but I still find there to be inequity in the funding formula.
Mr. Moody? Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, I'd like to see something. It hasn't been a good day. I'd say that. I'm no elders will not govern you, so I'm good now, sir.
Okay.
I'm good to go, sir. All right. I didn't have a time to put my thoughts together because I hadn't been doing too well. And if you all think the jobs that you have are challenging, try being a principal of a high school and see what you get. Anyhow, the die has been cast, and I didn't go through all my thoughts like I wanted to, and I just want to read this dissertation that I rushed to write so that I will not forget too much of what I want to say. But I'd like to read just something to you, and I state that in the past, several members, and rightfully so, have questioned the wisdom of my past. Many years before Mr. Grabowski was selected or elected to county council, I was an opponent of 526 because of the harm to African American lands. My wisdom was questioned when I led the charge to name a building of one of the county most admired and respected chairman, Mr. Pryor. When the community called for $10 million for affordable housing, which was not enough, I fought for $20 million. Time and time again, I tried to be on the right side of history, particularly local history, but seldom do others listen, and not to my arrogance, I would say. This evening, I am being questioned about my thoughts about Greenbelt dollars. Firstly, I have always been a friend of Greenbelt, so please do not question my loyalty. Secondly, however, I am of the opinion Greenbelt is already gagging with superfluity in terms of its goals. Charleston County's land, through Greenbelt funding, has afforded the county to save nearly 50% of its land. Not 50% of its goal, but nearly 50% of its land in its totality. So in other words, Charleston County, as we stand today, is preserved 50% of its land. The goal for Greenbelt was 40,000 acres. That's right, 40,000 acres. That was the goal. Today, Charleston County has exceeded its goal as 47,000 acres have been conserved. That's right, 47,000 acres. How much is enough? It is akin to a father who has 5 daughters. And as you know, fathers love their daughters as no love could ever be as evident. If you don't believe that, let a man bother his daughter whether she is married or not and see what you will get. There are 5 daughters wanting to go to college. The oldest already has her college fund intact with $100,000 paid in full. The 4 daughters have yet to have their goals completed, but the father has a plan to bring in dollars, albeit arduous. Upon hearing this, the oldest daughter goes to her father and says, "Daddy, I want some more money." The father says, "Your tuition has been paid. I have to help your other sisters. I want their goals completed also." The oldest daughter adamantly says, "Daddy, I want more money." Because of the father's love, he says, "I will give you 10% more because I love you." "Daddy, that's not enough. I want 16%. The father, who loves his other daughters as well and sees their needs and says to the oldest, "Honey, I love you, but if you do not accept the 10%, because you really do not need any more as your goal has been met. And if you do not accept the 10%, I'm sorry, you will not get anything." That's how I feel. We need to procure dollars for those entities whose goals have not been fulfilled. The $40,000 acre goal for Charleston County has been met. What more do we need? Also, there is a contradistinction between Greenbelt funds and affordable housing. Have you ever thought about it? The more land which is preserved, there will be fewer affordable houses, which will cause the housing market to get higher because there are fewer acreage. This is not a matter of doing both at the same time. This is not a matter of which is more important. This is a matter of the millions of dollars to preserve land contributes to the unaffordability of procuring affordable houses. So let us not speak too sublimely about affordable housing when we directly and indirectly contribute to the unaffordability. The wealthy always gets its way. And please do not accuse me of being anti-wealth because I agree with the amount, because I don't agree with the amount Greenbelt is asking. However, the majority of the dollars go to the haves and the have-nots. Does not get it. One family, I learned, alone procured $5.7 million. The African American and disadvantaged whites get very little in comparison. Furthermore, which to me is something of an affront, everyday people, or the common person, are paying taxes for Greenbelt for land they can never walk on. I understand the importance of green space and the necessities thereof, but there's something wrong when the public could walk on only 8.629 acres of land, 8,629 acres of land, whereby, and although with their tax dollars, the public does not access or cannot walk on the 19,131 acres. It just does not add up, at least for me. It is definitively a form of taxation without public access. And in its totality, our energy for county councils to procure dollars for everything is misdirected. The same energy, the same vivacity, the same vitality events here should be events towards state representatives. Ever since Representative Glenn McConnell, Bobby Harrell, Arthur Ravenel left the State House, Charleston County has never received in comparison to the upcountry. Here we are double taxing ourselves because the state of South Carolina, particularly the upcountry, is derelict in its duties. We should fill the State House chambers to demand the paving of our roads and other matters. It'd be nice if we would do a protest there. Finally, I am not an opponent of green belt. I'm just not going to propose the 16% or the 20% because the goal has already been met. But in the final analysis, I will abide by the majority of the citizenry if it goes before them. Because if the public says give more to green belt, I will follow the desires and the directives of the public. But as it stands today, the goal of a green belt was 40,000 acres. We have exceeded the goal, and yet now we are asking for more. The county is already 50,000, almost 50% in the preservation, and now we're asking for more, and the people, in terms of transportation roads, need much more. Didn't mean to be that loquacious. Forgive me.
Mr. Wehrman.
I think I need to correct my motion. I think at the end I said that there would be $25 million removed from transit. That would actually be 15. That's what accounts for there being a net $10 million increase in the transit.
Your correction is noted.
Seconded.
Okay. All right. Anyone else to speak, Mr. Moody? I'm sorry, Mr. Pryor.
Thank you, Mr. Darby, for so eloquently stating what my thoughts were as well. With the goal that we have succeeded with green belts. And I too, like you, was a proponent of it when it first started. When Mr. Bostic brought this to our attention, didn't know what was going on, but we took a leap of faith, and it has been one of the best programs that we have had in Charleston County. But I see on the pie chart it went from 15 to 16.24, and Reverend Middleton is correct. We're going to be taking funds from out of the city. So if we found this money, why wouldn't we put it back into the city versus putting it in the green belts when we already said green belts would be getting 15%? You know, I understand the due pressure of some, and I think some of us up here, all of us like to preserve, but this is a transportation sales tax, and transportation means roads and moving people around. And while I like, what this pie chart is, except for the 16.24, I can't, in good conscience, support that. When the last tax was passed, they got 10%. We're giving them an extra 5% now, of green belts. The first was 15, the second was 10, and now it's back at 15. And so it makes it difficult just because somebody asks for something, we say it's worthy. I mean, we must look to the future, and Mr. Darby made an excellent point. If you preserve everything, where are you going to build? It's only going to increase the price of the housing market. So while I don't agree with this pie chart, I'm still a proponent of green belts, but I just think a 15% is well enough. And, if the majority says they want to move that's up to the majority, but I just can't because I made a commitment of 15%, and I'm standing with the 15%, sir. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Moody again? All right.
Yeah, real quick, and Mr. Darby, thank you for the comments on the Greenbelt. The only point I wanted to make on that was that, at the end of our program, we'll have spent $431 million on green space. There was an article in the paper this weekend that the state of South Carolina spent $359 million, the entire state, if I read that correctly. So we've not only lapped the entire state, we're now asking for, doubling down. That's a king's ransom shakedown, if you ask me. I guess I wanted to answer Ms. Honeycutt, but I had a question about the clarity statement we got from the mayor this week. As I read that, I think your motion was just to basically protect the medical district, I thought. Maybe you can amplify that, but their clarity statement seemed to say they're going to go from the Ashley River all the way down to the Ravenel, and if there's leftover money, they're going to keep on going up. And I didn't think that was covered in your motion, so I'd like to see that clarified by either by you or the city or whoever. Those need to match, and I didn't think they did. But to the message I'm taking to my people, and seawall, the guy that lives down 61 or the guy that lives at the end of Harborview Road, if you ask them if a seawall that people are biking and skating on is an infrastructure project, I like my chances of that answer being no. So I don't consider it that. I think the people in the city of Charleston, if you live in West Ashley or James Island or Johns Island or the unincorporated areas of those, you should be appalled because the thinking that the city downtown always gets the money and everywhere else gets screwed. I got Exhibit 1 for you right here. It's called Seawall. So it's appalling that how many projects like these $45 million projects that are done in North Charleston, that's a great list. How many of those could be done with $200 million? But let's protect those nice, pretty houses down there and screw everybody else. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. A few things. Mr. Weirman, if I'm correct, there's been a lot of characterization that the $50 million from the $75 million was not going to be in the city of Charleston. As I understood in my conversations with you, $25 million was going to the Haygood project. I'm pretty sure that's still in the city of Charleston, is it not? Okay, thank you. And second point was, you told me that the $25 million for Carter was to be used for downtown route study.
Implementation of the downtown route
and
study.
that also
does not
is in
mean
the city of
$25
Charleston.
million on a study. That means $25 million spent putting buses based on the study.
Thank you. Okay, so that's that. As to transportation infrastructure, and that's multimodal, and its carrying cost and carryovers, I have 53.52% tallied for that portion of the TST allocation. I think that's a substantial amount of money for all of that. I don't have a problem with it. I hear all the discussions about Greenbelt. I think what might be is being missed. It's one thing if the population of the state of South Carolina was spread evenly in every county and every municipality across the state. That would be one thing. But we have a disproportionate amount of folks moving to our portion of South Carolina. Yes, they certainly have a right to live where they will, but not everyone has to live in Charleston County. And, this push for preservation of land is about preserving why we live here. It's our sense of place. And to have an arbitrary goal of acreage saying, okay, we're through now, it doesn't make any sense to me. The more people move here, I think the greater need for green space for their recreation and getting out and having access. I'll go back down this road one more time. I hear all the stuff about public access. We've got a ton of public access. Our park system is full of public access. A lot of our partners, Low Country Land Trust and others, have allowed public access. All of our boat landings that were purchased with Greenbelt money and that are, future boat landings and water access are public access. One thing that the reason why that number is so high, that it's whatever 19,000 acres or whatever of non, or whatever the number was, Mr. Darby, I'm sorry, of non-public access. That was the cheapest conservation we've done in this county. 10 cents on a dollar. You don't have to own it. You don't have to pay people to upkeep it. And the bargain sale of development rights by landowners is completely lost on everyone sitting up here, apparently. I don't understand that. They could have sold it out and pocketed the money and moved away. They're heroes, in my opinion, that they chose not to profiteer. They chose to preserve land that had been handed down generations, and those are cars that are not on the road. You have more congestion, more of a burden upon our EMS, fire, police, our landfill, less pollution. We talk about resiliency and sustainability. That's the front line right there. If you don't build it, people can't move into it. We are doing a great job here with our Housing Our Future plan, looking at the land bank along transportation corridors for folks that don't drive or have a car. I think there's a lot to be proud of here in the way we've carried on business here. I applaud Mr. Wehrman for accepting my invitation to sit down. It was an honest conversation. I like what we put together here. I think it's reasonable. And I think that a lot of thought and care and consideration went into it. And, I would love to have a, 9-0 consensus on this council, but it's clear that that's nowhere near that. So at that, we'll close discussion.
No, sir, I need to rebut, sir. No, sir.
Hold on, Mr. Kabrowski.
Well, I just want to briefly respond that it is, I agree with what Joe said, that with the green space, ask people what they've seen with their own eyes over the last 10 years, how much every day that they lose what they love about living here is plowed over, put in concrete and developed. Imagine if we just stopped this program 10 years out, and it'd be more and worse. I just feel it's not a thing for the wealthy. It's people, your sense of place of where you're living, your neighborhood. If they're very wealthy, they go somewhere else for their green space. If you live here, we've seen people, how many times have we come up, the biggest groups of people we've ever seen in front of us are for people that live and they see the big, huge developments coming with them. I didn't see wealthy people. I saw people of all types of life reflected who lives in Charleston fighting that. That's what this is about. And in places in Allendale, McClonville, we have Seawee Bay, we have Northern Mount Pleasant, the Republic Tract, the White Tract. These will be thousands and thousands of new homes coming here. And our obligation is to the people who live here now, not that the people who may live here in the future, and retain our quality of life and sense of place. And again, people can see with their own eyes what's going on. And it also is a part of, the preserving it from more traffic. But again, before we voted in this to ask the chairman, again, I asked him about the projects that will address the traffic West Ashley, which he didn't address. I like that to be part of it because, again, the issue we have is coming up with something that helps all 100 miles of us from north to south. There's different priorities in different areas, but our job is to make a meaningful impact on people's lives. But if you would answer that.
I will right after Mr. Darby speaks.
Thank you.
Mr. Darby.
When it comes down to public access and folks who are purchasing land by means of tax dollars, no matter how we sum it up, it's still not fair because poor people can't come up with land that they're going to get $5.7 million for 4.2. There's still inequity in that. And I wish that we would preserve, these poor communities and these disadvantaged white communities and communities of color as much as we preserve green belt space. Now, I usually don't use this AI or this, I'm just not that kind of guy technically. I just pull this up and it says, inaccessible green space is a major equity issue. As studies show that 74% of communities of color and 70% of low-income communities, disadvantaged whites, in the United States face nature deficits. While taxpayers fund these areas, barriers like poor design, lack of maintenance, safety issues, and private, non-walkable or gated spaces prevent equitable access to vital physical and mental health benefits. So I don't care how you whitewash it, it's still not fair when tax dollars are spent toward folks and you can't even walk on the land. Now, we've paid for land that, we can walk on 8,000 some odd acres, but it still results in 19,000 acres we can't walk on. You can't take your son or daughter on, and yet you paid for it. So let's not get this argument, but public access. We're not going to do that because it's simply not fair. I don't care how you size it up.
Anyone else? Mr. Sass.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, this is a good spirited conversation. I happen to be a great advocate for green belts. I know that when the first transportation sales tax was designed, green belts were a part of it, and then it was in the second one and this one. And I think it's a very important part of that equation. And yes, we may have reached our original goal, but we can still do some more. And I just want to point out there's things like, if you look in Mount Pleasant, you look at Boone Hall. Boone Hall was right there in the middle of town. It's preserved, and it was a real bargain sale. The state and the county participated, and the town to acquire that. And so now it's an area where it is public access. And just like the settlement communities, we're helping the settlement communities. I was in a meeting this week with the settlement communities. We're trying to get some historical designations for those communities. So it doesn't happen overnight, Mr. Darby, but it's happening.
Yes, sir.
And Phillips is already the first one that has become a historical community, and now 10 Mile in Mr. Kobrowski's district is trying to do it. And other ones are going to follow. There's lots of different ways to preserve the land. That's another way to preserve the land. As far as the greenbelt percentages, about 49 or 50% of the land in Charleston County is protected. But that's not all. We didn't do all that. We did a chunk of that. But there's other conservation groups that did it as well. It wasn't just us. And so this gives us an opportunity to find well-positioned properties that can make a good park or that we can use in the future. And the acquisitions, when we buy these properties, when we buy them, we spend a lot more money than just putting an easement on them. And I don't want to get in an argument with you about the easements. All I'll tell you is when you buy development rights, you keep that property from being developed, and that's part of what the green belt is about. And the other part is having parks that we can all walk on. Now, a lot of work went into this. I like the pie chart. I will put caution and point out that every one of these little slices of pie is really important. To me, it's really important, the pavement management, intersections, and things like that, and the second, carryover needs. Those are very important. I don't want to see those get reduced. But I'm pretty much in agreement with this. I don't agree with everything. None of us are going to agree with everything on this chart. But I think I can agree with it enough to support it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sass. Any further comments? Ms. Honeycutt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Werman, for working so hard to sort of get all of these nuances together. The only thing I would note, just for the purposes of transparency, is we focused a lot on the three biggest cities in the county. We've not paid a whole lot of attention. I think it was you, Mr. Pryor, that brought up the question of some of the other smaller towns within the county, and I just want to make sure we're sending this back to the public for feedback. I think there's going to be a second motion coming up in a moment to make sure we get that back, but I think part of that process will be further refining, are there specific projects within maybe smaller areas. I represent Seabrook, for instance. They have a repetitive flooding problem on Seabrook Road during high tides. And so there's opportunities for resilience needs to be met within these numbers, and we'll even look further into that. But what we hope to get is a response from the public as to, hey, here's kind of where we are. How do y'all feel about this? And we get an honest assessment and feedback from that. The only other thing I wanted to point out is to answer Mr. Moody's question about the battery wall. Yesterday I went down, the city finally finished out its project that started in 2017 to rebuild the battery wall. Look, that has been a part of Charleston for decades. And to extend this to have a form and function combined, this is an infrastructure project. The seawall is not just a bike path. It is actually protecting the city from flooding. And yes, in my comments, when we cut it down to 150, the intent was making sure that we protected the medical district. What the city came back and said is, no, to make this thing work holistically, we need 225, which we passed in that committee meeting. the 225, and I do believe that wraps around the whole city, not just the medical district. But what we did is added back Haygood. We want to make sure we address Calhoun Street needs. They've got their own project also going on that's part of the 16 referendum. But addressing all of those goes to public safety across the county. If you're driving them from West Ashley in an EMS to get to MUSC and you can't because it's flooded, that's a problem. That affects West Ashley residents. It affects everybody on the south end of the county. And so I would argue, and I represent that area of the district, at least, south of Queen, and I'm the one that cut from it. It's still a priority need. And so I think that argument can be made countywide, and it is specific to the city of Charleston, but they also generate a lot of this revenue for the program. And so that's why we split it up between the city of Charleston, the city of North Charleston, and the town of Mount Pleasant to try to bring that equity that we've been talking about. So I hope to see further refinement as we hear back from the public, but I'm very proud of what we have been able to develop here today.
Any other? Okay, I'll answer your. Okay, Mr. Kabrowski, as the West Ashley projects contained into this, there's the Glen McConnell Parkway Magwood connection, or flyover Magwood coming off of 526, I believe is what that project was. The US 17 South widening from Dobbin Road down to Main Road, and a portion of the US 17 South widening below Main Road that's still in the city of Charleston to Rantol's Creek. That's all in the city. And then the argument one way or the other, the West Ashley half of the Better North Bridge project would be in there as well. So those are some of the projects that West Ashley would benefit from.
All right, thank you. Those will have a big impact?
Well, you going 4 lanes to 6 lanes on one of the worst congested roads coming into West Ashley, yes, it will help a lot.
Well, that's what I meant. Yes,
Yes, sir. Okay, thank sure. Okay, I think that concludes the discussion. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll on this one?
Yes, sir. Mr. Darby?
Nay.
Mrs. Honeycutt?
Aye.
Mr. Kabrowski? Mr. Middleton?
Nay.
Mr. Moody?
Nay.
Mr. Pryor?
No.
Mr. Sass?
Aye.
Mr. Werman? Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
The motion passes with 5 ayes and 4 nays.
Mr. Chairman, I
Yes,
would
Ms.
move
Honeycutt.
that we send this out for public comment for no less than 30 days.
And I have a second?
I'll second it.
Darby has a question.
My question is, how is it going to be sent out?
Mr. Adams, would you please address how we're going to take public comment, please, sir?
Sure. Eric Adams, Public Works Director. So we would implement a similar program as we did the first phase of the public outreach program. So we would hold meetings around the county in person. We would have a survey online that could be completed. And then we would also do a more scientific polling where a representative sample of voters around the county would be polled.
Okay. Any questions from Mr. Adams? Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. We got a properly made motion, seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Nay.
Nay.
I think I got it.
You got it all?
Moody,
Okay.
Middleton, Darby. Are you an aye or an nay?
30 days. A poll, I don't have a problem with, people making, suggestions, but what I do have a problem with, and I hope you would check these things and make sure they have a Charleston County address, just not an email coming in from somebody from out of town, or Berkeley County, or Dorchester County. So I don't know, Mr. Adams, how y'all can determine that, but I would ask that everybody have a Charleston County email address, because this is a Charleston County project. I mean, it's easy to flood these things with folks from out of town, California, New York, Florida, Berkeley County, Dorchester County, it's easy to do that. So if you don't live in Charleston County, that shouldn't even count. So I hope that we have some type of way that we can control that.
I concur, Mr. Pryor. All right. With that, then we will adjourn the Transportation Sales Tax Committee and call the Finance Committee to order. All members of council are members of this committee, and I serve as chair. At this time, I would like to ask for unanimous consent to add a resolution honoring Charles Middleton III to the agenda at request of Mr. Pryor.
So move.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it.
We need to also approve that, or we need to?
Add it to the agenda.
Okay,
Yeah, we're just going to add it to the
Okay.
consent agenda.
okay, gotcha, thank
All
you.
right. Okay, approval of minutes, February
For
5th.
approval.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item 2A,
Move for approval 2A through now F, Mrs. Clerk.
That's right.
Salisbury, thank
Yes.
you.
I'll second that, but
Thank you,
the
Mr.
question is, historic preservation appointment, is that yours, Mr. Boykin? Who appointment
That's
is that?
mine. That's mine, too. Just,
Okay, I'll pass this on until Tuesday, and then I can get up on, okay.
okay, all right. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. All right. All right, taking up item 3, recommendation from the Transportation Sales Tax Special Committee.
Recommendation?
Second.
All right, properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
I just want to make sure, Madam Clerk, do I need to specify both motions, or does that include the committee?
I think it covers both because it says recommendations from that committee.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
At this point, we will adjourn the Finance Committee and go into our special county council meeting. Item 1, Freedom of Information Act.
In compliance with the Freedom of Information Act, notice of meeting was posted and agendas were distributed to news media and persons requesting notification.
All right. Item 2A, Transportation
Recommendation again?
Second.
recommendations. Okay. All right, got properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. At this time, we are adjourned.
Discussion.
Okay.